A Dictionary of Ukrainian Emotions.
I'm pleased once again to welcome you to our podcast, The Dictionary of Ukrainian Emotions. I'm your host, John Friedman. Allow me to say a few words about our project, which is presented by Ukrainska Pravda, Ukraine's most popular internet portal. In 9 separate podcasts, we are offering readings and discussions of 9 works by 9 authors, all of whom are members of the Theater of Playwrights in Kyiv. Furthermore, they all contributed texts to an English-language anthology titled A Dictionary of Emotions in a Time of War, 20 short works by Ukrainian playwrights. This award-winning collection was compiled and edited by yours truly and published in 2023 by the Great Laertes Press in the United States. Every text in the book was written in 2022 in response to the full-scale Russian invasion of Ukraine. In today's podcast, we offer a masterful poetic monologue titled Survivor's Syndrome by Andrii Bondarenko. Andrii has emerged in the last few years as one of Ukraine's best playwrights. Based in the city of Lviv, he is also the literary director of the Lviv Puppet Theater and is one of the 3 acting artistic directors of the Theater of Playwrights in Kyiv. Theaters in the United States and Europe have commissioned new plays from him or have featured world premieres of his existing plays. One review called his Ghostland at City Garage Theater in Santa Monica, California, a stunning production of a gut-wrenching subject. Speaking about the writing of Survivor's Syndrome before a premiere in Romania, Andrii said, "Those first days of the war were very hard. I just felt like I had to write, and that I could write. I wrote with the feeling that those words were repeating over and over in my head. There were constant bombings, and I kept switching back from one state to another. I was full of hope. I was full of despair. But there were always words in my head, words that I then put on paper." Our performer today is Kevin McMonagle. Kevin was born in Nigeria and grew up in Scotland, where his family has deep roots in North Glasgow. His stage career has seen him perform in over 150 plays, often from the rich canon of traditional roles such as Hamlet and Wojciech, but just as often as a first-time performer in contemporary works. Aside from playing the title role in Hamlet, he has performed Shakespeare extensively in Twelfth Night, The Comedy of Errors, The Tempest, and Henry VIII. He has performed at most of the major theatres in the UK, including Leicester Haymarket, the Royal Court, the National Theatre, and the Royal Shakespeare Company. He was a core cast member for the entire run of the popular British TV series Bramwell from 1995 to 1998. Please stay tuned now for Kevin McMonagle's discerning and sensitive reading of Andrii Bondarenko's Survivor's Syndrome. Due to Mr. McMonagle's busy schedule, he was unable to join us for a conversation about his work on the text. But we offer a guest who is every bit as interesting, the author himself, Andrii Bondarenko. Please stay tuned for the reading and a short chat with Andrii.
A Dictionary of Ukrainian Emotions.
Survivor's Syndrome by Andrii Bondarenko, read by Kevin McMonagle, directed by Simon Usher. The end. Every one of us was killed already that morning. We are no longer what we were then. We died. On February 24 of the year 2022, a neighbouring country killed us all. The old world went up in flames and smoke, splintered and disintegrated. Hundreds, thousands, millions of our worlds disappeared, destroyed forever, irreversibly. That week I had decided to go on a date. Winter was coming to an end, but it was still grey and cold. I wanted finally to change something. We made a date for the day after tomorrow, February 24, the year of 2022. We were to meet in the centre of town, sit at a cafe, walk the streets. That day, the day after tomorrow, never came. Something else entirely came about and ruined that day. You think you want to go for a walk? There was no city in which to meet and have a coffee. There were no more streets. Something else entirely happened. Other lives of other people now. We'll have to become acquainted again, set a new date, meet at another time. Everything will have to be reassembled, piece by piece, and the pieces themselves will be completely new. But when will that be? Who will I be? Who will we be? Where will we be? What will our purpose be? The apocalypse has come. Everything that was is no longer. What remained were vestiges, shadows. We used to watch TV series, drink beer and cognac. We stayed out late at coffee houses, visited friends, bought paperback books, hugged, talked about art, played cards, laughed, danced to music on our phones. We went to the movies, drinking beer and eating nuts. This all disappeared one grey, cold morning, swept into the dark abyss by the sound of an air raid siren. This is how worlds disappear, like a day that ended and never came again, like a flower that clamped its petals shut under a gust of wind and never opened again, like a laptop suddenly disconnected from an outlet, like a sun that set in the west but never rose again in the east, like a man stabbed in the heart from behind. This is how worlds disappear, like a light bulb going out, like water draining from a bath, like eyes being shut on a dead man's corpse. Our world was no better than a light bulb, just as fragile and finite. That's how it turned out. Our world was imperfect. It was alive. It was killed. The apocalypse now has come. There is no fear. That which we feared is now long gone. Traces, remnants, shadows. We have retreated to another side, an Atlantis beneath the surface of the sea. We still see it, but the image grows weaker. Our life is now a graveyard of all the plans, desires, and aspirations we had before February 24 in the year of 2022. We now live in a world in which our world no longer exists. And how can that be? It just is. That happens too. Forests through which we used to wander are mined and devastated by tanks. Bridges we used to take to visit relatives are destroyed. Our relatives are dead or gone crazy. Friends are held captive in captured cities or have left where they never had any intention of going. Theatres are bombed to dust. Theatre actors guard checkpoints with machine guns in hand. What kind of world is this? This is a world of war. And what is war? It is something that cannot be, ever. But it is. How can that be? It cannot be. We live in a world that cannot be. What could not happen has happened. The unspeakable has happened. The unreal has happened. Are we alive at all? We who survived? Who am I now? How did I survive those first days? I remember little. Those days are already buried under some big impenetrable pillow. All we did was wave our arms as if they were wings so as not to fall into the abyss that our lives had become. It turned out we had wings. Those of us whom we now have become. I still don't understand. Where are we? We are in different places at the same time, like ghosts, like foggy clouds. We fly wherever our thoughts lead us, to where our friends, family, and loved ones now sit in basements, shuddering from rocket attacks, or just frozen in fear for someone's life. We now hover over all of Ukraine like ghosts. Our bodies obediently remain where we left them. We are only half our bodies, or a third. We are carried here and there by the invisible winds of war. Our bodies are like children. We command them to be polite and obey their elders. Sit still, hold this backpack with documents. Carry us onward until our thoughts and souls carry us to those who are dying beneath the bombs. Where are we? Our places and spaces have been replaced, spread out, confused. Train stations function, but they're no longer train stations. Cafes function, but they're not cafes. People sit and drink, but that is no longer drinking. A drunken friend called me recently. He was sitting with another friend. His friend had a bottle. They both got drunk. My friend got very drunk, sat there drunk and happy, listening to his music on his phone, remembering funny stories, and then he went home and suddenly woke up. He remembered everything. Dark, empty streets surrounded him on all sides, and his windows were taped shut. A territorial defense patrol stood under the bridge. My friend called me. What should I do? He asked. I was drunk, I had fun, and suddenly I woke up. There's a war going on. It's very scary. There's a patrol under the bridge. Why did I get drunk? What's so fun about getting drunk together with music and funny stories if there's a war going on? Don't worry about it, I said. Just hang up and go home quick. Curfew starts in 5 minutes. You'll be stopped by a patrol. And you're drunk. Damn, he said. Curfew. And I was so happy half an hour ago when I was drunk. Go home quick, I said, and don't drink anymore. I won't. Fuck, I won't, he said, and hung up. Those who have no tomorrow should not drink vodka. It's pointless. After all, your hangover will come today. It won't be postponed till morning. We have no tomorrow. There is only one big swollen today. Heavy, grey, swollen clouds spread over the entire horizon in all directions, filling all the cracks. No matter how much you drink, you'll still come back to this today. Nothing lies behind the grey clouds. The road to the future is gone. It must be found again. Just as we look for... what? For nothing. Finding your future is finding your future. Nothing more. Who knows how to look for it? We must learn this from zero, from scratch, from the emptiness of the day's eternal gloom. Just as we learn to fly over the abyss by the power of wings we previously did not have. Hanging over the abyss bifurcates or even trifurcates you. I went for a walk. It was around mid-March, a bright, high, dazzling blue sky, the warmth of the sun falling on shrunken faces, caressing them like a mother's hand. A light breeze blows. Children's laughter wafts in from somewhere, and your body responds. It responds to this spring around you. Your gait relaxes, a faint smile appears on your lips, but it's just your body. You yourself don't respond. A smile on one side of your mouth, sadness on the other, like an ancient mask. On the one hand, you absorb spring, but on the other, it is not spring. It is a battlefield, a fiery death. Combatants with machine guns now run beneath the big blue dazzling sky. The warm sun illuminating an enemy tank hiding near a ruined cottage. A car with refugees is shot up beneath this sun. People buried under concrete walls are dying in the shadow of this sun. Tanks, helicopters, cars, people, the earth are all burning beneath this sun with a transparent fire. As such, you see around you two suns, two skies, two springs. You are here and there all at the same time. You are bifurcated, trifurcated, for some part of you is neither here nor there, but hangs at this moment over the dark abyss, the abyss of the apocalypse. You now have three heads, for you must watch two suns and one abyss at the same time. But you have just two hands, and they must carry you like wings. Your world is destroyed. You are dead. You are flying somewhere, a stranger in every world on which the sun now shines. You still breathe, but you know not what that means. I breathe, so what? Am I still breathing? Am I breathing for now? Am I breathing already? Did I inhale? Did I exhale? Is this a pause, or is it the end or the beginning? Who can say? At this very moment, the Ukrainian mathematician Konstantin Almazov sits in a Russian prison. He specializes in additive combinatorics, a field of mathematics that studies finite sets and their relationships. When, on February 24 in the year 2022, one finite set in which he was currently located attacked the other finite set to which he belonged, Konstantin Almazov could not believe in such a new relationship between these two sets, nor could he accept it as a fact of mathematics or as a fact of life. And just 2 days later, he both believed and wished to escape the finite set in which he was located at the time. But it was too late, and on his way in the bus, he was arrested because he was recognized. Some element of his present finite set handed him over to the police, and the police arrested him for the simple reason that he wished to escape from the finite set in which he was located, although that was no crime, and yet they still imprisoned him because he had said out loud that one finite set was wrong to attack another finite set. Now Almazov sits in a prison cell, hanging over the dark abyss. He sits and sits and sits. He sits some more, then sits more still, sitting, 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 and sitting. But stop. No more. No more sitting. His hands could bear it no more. Konstantin Almazov, a Ukrainian mathematician detained and imprisoned in Moscow for trying to go home, committed suicide while in a prison cell. At least that's what the news said. His wings could not bear the weight. More precisely, they were clipped. Thousands are falling into the abyss at the moment that I write these words. Why do I write about the mathematician Konstantin Almazov? Probably because he had been there in someone else's finite set. It is much more frightening than here. Although I do not know that, it's scary everywhere. At the precise moment that I write these words, people in Mariupol are praying not to die deaths as horrible as their neighbours have already died. They want to die instantly. They have no doubts that they will all fall into the black, dark pit to which they currently cling. Their spring, right now, consists of nights spent living underground without heat, without food, without water. Their spring consists of days of death under bombs, days of burying corpses beneath the entry to a high-rise building. The apocalypse continues. The apocalypse is constant. Apocalypse now, today, already. There is no tomorrow. My world is gone. I have no sense of life. I am carried away by an invisible wind. My body is as obedient as that of a child sitting in a safe space in a basement or between two load-bearing walls carrying a backpack with documents and money. With obedience and fear, my body waits for me to return from the fiery spaces of spring where people are dying, people dear to me, though I don't know them all, people who no longer have the strength to fly above the black abyss, whose limbs have been cut off, who fluttered like wings to the bitter end in the emptiness of the apocalypse. But arms and hands are not wings. Why do I go back? Why do I still see the sky and spring? Why do I hear air raid alarm and go outside to buy bread, cabbage and tomato paste? Why does the sun still caress me like my mother's warm hand on my face? Why does the right corner of my mouth rise in a strange half-smile? I have no idea. This is a strange thing, one of those that is already happening in the apocalypse. For example, no longer are there kilometers between Lviv and Mariupol. 1,250 kilometers. There are corpses. The distance between Lviv and Mariupol is 1,250 corpses of civilians, and that is only according to official statistics today, which always underestimate everything so as not to taunt the apocalypse, so as not to look it in the eye. In fact, there are many more corpses. We understand that perfectly well, but I do not tell that to my body, which obediently sits where I tell it to sit. The body does not need to know everything. Let it think it is alive. But I know a terrible secret. We are not alive. We are flying over an abyss, for our world was killed, and we are carried here and there by invisible winds, blowing between life and death. I can move my body where distances are still counted in kilometers, where it is still spring and not a fiery battlefield. But the hot winds will reach me there too. I shall see the dark abyss every time I close my eyes, even if I just blink for a moment. My world is gone. Sleep, body, sleep. It's not easy for you either. You truly suspect something. After all, you smiled with just one corner of your mouth. You wake up every day at dawn because you hear the ghostly sound of a siren. You do not taste food. You fear blinking so as not to see the darkness I do not tell you about, dear body, so that you won't forget that you must breathe. For I have forgotten about that for a very long time. Because on February 24 of the year 2022, I found myself in a place where there is no air, where there is no atmosphere. It all had disappeared as if it had never existed. The sky went black as an abyss, even in daytime, let alone evening and night. The first and last panic attack in my life came when, on the 4th day of the war, I returned home in the evening and looked up at the dark sky and did not see a sky there at all. How could a sky be there? Were there a sky there? Russian bombs and missiles could not fly through it. It would hold them back. But they do fly there, so there must be no sky. It is gone. No world. no sky. What could it cling to? There are no iron pillars, no green forests, no cherry orchards. I stopped, puzzled. My breathing stopped. I was bent low like grass, only my legs moved on, and in a way that I did not fall, but rolled on. When I rolled up to the wall of my house, my body began to breathe again, but I do not. This combination is not, holds a certain magic for me. I repeated it over and over so that at least something will be. If you repeat is not 1,000 times, it is as if there is something there, at least some crumb of dust that you can hold on to. I love street sparrows and even pigeons. I feel solidarity with them. If they live, so can I. If the sun shines for them, then maybe it does for me. Maybe I'll catch their sun if I don't have my own. Maybe their sky will cover me a little. At least a little. Sparrow sky, cover me and all those I love. Think about and remember all who fly with me into the black abyss. We are like those sparrows. We fly, although we do not know how. We are like those sparrows. We die by the thousands in the dust and ashes, homeless, restless. Sparrow sky, chirp, chirp, chirp. Memories of those who were and died still swirl about me like dust, but there are fewer and fewer of them. I don't remember living the first 3 days of the war. An impenetrable pillow, that is, I know how I sat in front of a laptop screen, unable to break away from the news. I posted hysterical appeals on Facebook. I called people. I questioned and passed on important information, forced myself to fall asleep, listened to the siren at dawn, started to read, and immediately threw the book away, experienced despair and love. I know it all, but I do not remember it. What about who I was before the war? I know him, but I don't remember him. All I know is that it was someone else. He went to the bathroom differently, lived in my house differently, spoke differently, looked out the window differently. He was, and he disappeared. God be with him. I haven't time for him now. Mariupol, Bucha, Hostomel, Irpin, Kherson. These are the words I remember now, which I will not forget. I will not forget anything or anyone, nothing and no one, nothing that happened in the dark and in the fire. This is my soul bridge across the abyss now, and absent me already. Therefore, yes, I whisper these words before bed. Donetsk, Luhansk, Melitopol, Berdyansk, Kramatorsk, Sloviansk. These are word cities. In them live all the people who have died, who disappeared, who were left homeless. This is my geography now. I do not know what will happen next. I know nothing, as my friends the street sparrows know nothing. But I am sure of one thing. We will forget nothing. Nothing that happened, ever. We shall remember to the depths of our bones and blood until we are calloused and full of holes, to the sparrow sky, as those remember who have nothing but this to remember, from whom everything else was taken away. Thus shall we traipse through the apocalypse now, This is not a memory of us who came before, of those who lived, died, and perished with the old world. God be with them. This is a memory of wings, love, fearlessness, and burning pain. It is a memory of what happened when there was nothing left, when we were ghosts, when the dead were alive and the living were dead. This memory is what we are now. To hold it, we must build a new world, and we will build it, and there will be a new sky over it. We shall remember everyone killed, every house destroyed, every street destroyed, every motionless face. We shall watch TV series, drink beer and cognac, sit late into the night at coffee houses. We shall visit friends, buy paperback books, hug each other, talk about art, play cards, laugh, dance to music on our phones, go to the movies and drink beer with nuts. But before that, I'll go on a date. And it will not be me, not the one who survives. It will be the one who will be, who will live, who will remember, who will love, who ultimately will despair. The beginning.
A dictionary of Ukrainian emotions.
Hello, Andrii Bondarenko. It's good to connect with you. How are you today?
Hello, good to see you too. I'm fine, thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Listen, I want to ask you what your response to Kevin's reading of your survivor's syndrome is. I personally found it very powerful and insightful. I'd love to hear what your thoughts were upon hearing it.
Yes, I was very impressed. And as I said to Nina Cavers already, she asked me, it's the best reading of this text that I heard. It's really professional. And also, I would say that this reading gave to my text the final realization. It gave its final intonations that it needed to be fully realized. I mean that when I was writing this text, it was like something from the depths, like some murmuring, muttering, some whispering, scream, yawning, something in my head. And I started to give the sound, to give the voice to all these different sounds in my head. Mm-hmm. And when I put it to the paper, it still was like kind of half muttering. And when I heard this reading of Kevin, I realized that now it sounds with confidence, it's discernible, it's well articulated, it's distinct.
It's begun to live its own life then.
Yeah. It gave it like final design, final embodiment.
Yeah.
And also what is the most important, it's like from initial murmuring, it came the last way to the cultural statement. It became like a literature.
Yes.
So yes. Now in this reading, I could say for me it sounds like a story, like a history. It's very here because Kevin helped me to give like final realization. From the other hand, Kevin left kind of original intonation also that I intended it to be there, like this kind of light melancholy, this kind of light detachment, uncertainness. He also created this very needed intonations also.
You mentioned that it's essentially now become literature. It's become a historical document. And indeed, you wrote it 2.5 years ago in a very different world. You do a beautiful job with this piece in talking and starting at the end and then ending with the beginning. And you talk and you write about how everyone is now living other lives than they were literally a day ago, meaning the day before the full-scale invasion. And you start out by saying that every one of us was killed. We are no longer. And in 2.5 years, this is a very difficult question, I understand. But in 2.5 years, how have you and the characters that you imagined in your piece, how have you changed? Have you come back to life yet? Are you still waiting to come back to life? What is that situation for you?
Yes, everything changed, and I changed, and character, I think, changed already, and life changed. I adopted to this new situation, and for me now it's, at first I was feeling like we are flying over the abyss. Now we are living in this world, and it's our world now, and you can live there, you can do something, you can even already feel the life in certain way. But still, I couldn't say that it's already, I am different and I'm already living in a different world. To say frankly, I couldn't listen to the end of this reading. I just couldn't. I stopped maybe half minutes till the end because it was too much for me. I'm still not ready. There was a mention of the date that I intended to go to for a date at this day when the war started, and it was all ruined. But now in this time that passed, I went to another dates with another persons. I even married, and so on. And so I live a life now. And but still, I couldn't say that there is new world. It's something still we are waiting for something.
It's still something. You're still in limbo. You're still in limbo.
We are still in limbo. Yes. And there are many reminders from the last days.
Right.
There are still mornings when I woke up and I feel like this character.
Yes. We say it openly as we speak. In the last few days, there have been terrible bombings in many Ukrainian cities. So the impact that the original full-scale invasion had on you is still happening literally right now. I think it's important to make that point for anybody listening. In 2.5 years, nothing has changed in that sense. But everything has changed in the sense that you're now happily married to a beautiful woman who is very smart and very talented.
Yes, somehow in the middle of these dreadful days, we decided to do what we want to.
Yeah. I want to ask you, this piece has been, as far as I can tell, has been translated and performed in 5 different languages, not counting Ukrainian. So in counting Ukrainian, it would be 6, but into 5 foreign languages, Romanian, German, Cantonese, Hungarian, and English. Have you heard any of the other? I think you went to Romania to hear a performance. Is that true? And what were your reactions hearing it there performed on stage in Romanian?
Yeah, it was well, maybe not quite a reading. It was almost staging. So I was very impressed, and it was very good. And I liked it very much. And it was also like reading in some very old room from the old palace. And they used this scenery, this inner room design. So it was very, very good.
Yeah. Wonderful. You said that you could not listen to the last few minutes. I will admit to you and anybody listening right now that when I sat down to prepare for this conversation, I turned on the recording and I listened for about 3 minutes and I had to turn it off after 3 minutes. I just couldn't deal with it this morning. I was not able to stay with it professionally. It's that powerful of a text. It is written that beautifully. and it is performed that beautifully by Kevin that this is an incredibly powerful, moving piece, both in terms of its writing and in terms of its performance. And so I want to thank you, and I want to congratulate you, because it's actually quite an event to have a piece performed like this. And I'm thrilled that we've had an opportunity to include it in our podcasts.
Yeah, thank you for these words and for your compassion. And thank you to Kevin McMonagle for this, a perfect reading that give the final intonations to this text. Now it really exists as a piece of something in this world.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Andrii. Thank you so much. We'll see you again sometime. Bye-bye now.
Thank you. Bye.
A Dictionary of Ukrainian Emotions.
And so, with Kevin McMonagle's incisive performance of Andrii Bondarenko's Survivor's Syndrome, we pass the midway point of our Dictionary of Ukrainian Emotions series of podcasts. 5 down, 4 to go. Let me remind you that all 9 of the texts that we are bringing to you were written after the beginning of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine by Russia. And they were all published in English in the anthology titled A Dictionary of Emotions in a Time of War, 20 short works by Ukrainian playwrights. Every one of the texts stands as proof of the power and resilience of the Ukrainian spirit. I've said this before, I'll repeat it again. Let no one ever again doubt the existence of the Ukrainian nation, the riches of its culture, or the beauty of its language. Our next podcast will feature the American actress Kathleen Chalfant performing Planting an Apple Tree, a subtle, heartfelt piece by Irina Kharets. If by chance this was your first time listening to our podcast, I encourage you to go back and find the 4 that precede it and stay with us for the 4 more to come. I am your host, John Friedman, and I look forward to crossing paths with you again.
A Dictionary of Ukrainian Emotions.